hobbyists. Building Tamiya radio control cars can be very addictive. Just ask the chief engineer. Looking at sites like Instagram, there is usually some kind of personality vacuum stating how they have a room full of models awaiting to be built. The question is, do they collect and build for fun? Or is this their ticket to being an influencer or to promote some sort of tin pot company that they have? The reason for this train of thought is, recently I bought the Tamiya Beetle Rally on the MF01X chassis, and it's time to build, as it can't stay in the box forever. All of my cars are bought to be built and run, and this one in particular I've got in mind for a special project. So in between fixing and repainting everything on the to-do pile, it's time for me to bring this model to life and start the build. One of the biggest bonuses to Tamiya as an RC model kit supplier is that the instructions are very clear and to the point. Yes, quite a few manufacturers, ranging all levels of the price spectrum, produce ready-to-roll cars, as does Tamiya. But as the majority are in kit format, I enjoy the build process and it helps you understand how the car works better and assist in the eventual repairs and upgrades. This is the first kit I have built where the instructions though are a little bit more generic, but on the appendix it does tell you clearly which chassis length and which ride height to go with, and the instructions make this perfectly clear to limit on mistakes and to keep you on the right path. Follow the instructions and it's a logical build basically. Organisation is the key, I find. Again, those with good eyesight will see the plastic tubs I liberated from the amusement arcade in Rill. These have been really helpful and at zero cost. While building, things can get a little chaotic at moments, especially when switching between tools, looking for the right part, or cleaning off any moulding flashes. But a good clear down at regular intervals I find helps and also lets you see the progress so far. Also, I think it is important to know that you do get some spare screws and washers and bits and bobs, so don't panic if you have a few bits left over at the end. I have a parts box arranged by item, and it's amazing how many spares from previous builds have saved the day on current builds. I did have to have a few days off though at this point, because whilst trying to get the ESC mounted more securely, I decided to use a craft knife to shave a little off the housing around it so it would fit more snugly. I then decided the blade was not sharp enough, so I changed it and pretty much straight away nearly cut my finger off. Luckily, plenty of cold water and a child's Batman plaster saved the day, but it still hurts. After I felt that my finger was securely still in place and in no danger of dropping off, I tried my best at cable management. Yes, this is my best. But it is a massive improvement on what it used to be like, and once this was completed, it was time to start addressing the polycarbonate body, the item to make it look like an actual Beetle. I have to admit, I much prefer working on hard shell body types, as the issue with polycarbonate or Lexan is that you have to paint these from the inside and as a result work back to front. But before this can be done, it has to be cut out. One day I will make a jelly in one of these, but I'd imagine it would take quite a lot of packets to fill it, and also I do like to add a healthy kick of vodka to jelly, which could cause structural issues. Also, cleaning it later would be a real pain. When cutting these bodies out, there's two main ways to do this. The first one is the score and snap. Now, to me, you need a good background in the occult to get this working correctly, so I use the second option of Tamiya scissors, which have a slight curve to the blade. This is to help you get around wheel arches and other details. There could also be a third option, and that would be to use a Dremel. I don't own one as yet, but maybe in a future build I might consider buying one to see if that does speed up the process and make the cuts a lot more neat. The areas that have been cut can be a little bit sharp and also need tidying up. This can be done using files or sandpaper. I use Tamiya budget files for this and they do the job well. I did see a chap online use a bit cut from a brush handle with sandpaper wrapped around it for using around the wheel arches. This looked a really good idea. But I can't just go round cutting up the broom handle. Mrs. RC so-and-so does not interfere with my vehicles, so I don't want to interfere with hers. Once this has been done, and it's cut out and all the sharp edges have been dealt with, it's time to put your big boy pants on and start looking at spraying this, as who wants a see-through car body? Job 1 is to add window masks. Luckily, this kit comes with them, but here's a link to how to make them if you do need it. I started by masking all the body apart from the sills, as these are going to be black. Only after I did this I realised that the decal sheet actually provided stickers for the sills, but this just doubled up and gave it some depth. I have planned to do this car in two-tone, so again half the body needed to be masked, and then I could hit it with the PS15 metallic red for the bulk of the body. After a few light coats of this to make sure it was well covered, I then went on to add some PS12 silver to give it a good lining to make sure that the next colour does not make this colour go all funky. Once done and I took the mask off, I realised that the line was not as clean as I'd hoped it had been. This is where the problems arose, and to try and make the line a little bit neater, I used some Carson paint killer to try and tidy it up, which was semi-successful. I then hit it with Tamiya PS19 Camel Yellow. Only light coats at first, but I noticed that the paint struggled to stick a little, and I can only imagine this was because the Carson paint killer had not been washed up appropriately. So I had to add a lot more coats than first imagined, hence adding to the delay of this being completed. Eventually I got an okay coverage and again hit it with the PS12 silver so the inside was uniform, but the line between the two colours was messy and far from ideal. While mulling this problem over, I thought of the next best option, which would be to add a wider pinstripe to the side, which I did, but for some reason the tape didn't want to stick to the body. Just before I hulked out, I thought I would give it one last go and try hitting it with some heat, so I put a hairdryer on it, and this was quite successful and meant the tape stuck to the body. Now that the tape was somewhat securely in place, for now, it was time to add some of the garnish. VW stickers, wing mirrors, bumpers, and of course the RC so-and-so personalised number plates. Less is more on this, as the kit comes with all kinds of racing and rally nonsense, like numbers and stripes. This is not going to be in any rallies, so most of these have been squirreled away so that I can use them for future builds, because you never know what may be useful. So here it is, the finished car. I would say I'm about 85% happy on how it's turned out. All builds like this are a learning curve, and it has given me some points to think about. Now, go and find that Tamiya kit you've got stashed away and start building. So you don't miss out on further videos and similar nonsense, please like, feel free to comment, definitely subscribe, and press that bell-shaped thingy to be woken up at all hours for further content. But for now, that's your lot.